Well, it is the unofficial start of summer, and people are flocking to the beach this Memorial Day weekend. But are they prepared for what lurks beneath the waves? Hello, everyone, and welcome to a brand new hour of Fox News Live. I'm Arthel Neville. Hi, Bill.
Hey, Arthel, great to be with you once again. Eric Shawn has the day off. I'm Bill Malugin. So this year we have already seen a shark bite in New Jersey and multiple sightings in the waters around New York City. That's where officials say they are taking, quote, enhanced measures to protect swimmers. But the Parks Department is reporting a dramatic shortage of lifeguards. So the question now, will swimmers be protected?
Well, we've got Fox team coverage for you. Charles Watson at Hartsfield-Jackson International Airport on Memorial Day weekend travel, and meteorologist Adam Klotz with the Fox weather forecast for you. But first, CB Cotton. She's live at one of New York City area's most popular beaches, Rockaway Beach in Queens. So, CB, 75 and sunny, kind of works.
Yeah, it kind of works. This is a great assignment. Memorial Day weekend shaping up to be awesome. You know, we've been talking a lot to the beachgoers out here, and they're really excited about the summer season. And a great thing about this weekend, it means that lifeguards are officially back on duty, which gives some beachgoers that reassurance, that extra level of protection, knowing they have another set of eyes looking out for them when they're out here on the beach or out here in the water. Speaking of being in the water, we've been talking about shark sightings all throughout the day. We know there were at least 6 shark attacks last summer, and obviously that gives some people some pause. They want to think and make sure they're coming out to the beach and making a wise decision. I'm joined now by some beachgoers, Jake from Brooklyn and Skylar. I'm so thrilled to be here with you both. Talk to me. How is Memorial Day weekend shaping up for you?
Yeah, thank you, CB. It's been, I think it's shaping up really well. There's a lot of exciting things happening. We're at the beach, hanging out with my friends, which, you know, hard to make it better than that, but I feel like there's more to come. There's something more exciting on the horizon that I'm just waiting for.
Okay, all right. I like that energy. I like that enthusiasm to kick off summer 2023. Skylar, I want to talk to you too a little bit. We were talking earlier discussing the shark sightings. There's been an increase in those, specifically around Long Island beaches. What do you think about that? What are your thoughts? Does that give you pause before you come out to the beach?
You know, CB, it's a little concerning right now, but I'm really more worried for later in the summer because these sharks, like, they're attracted to the sunlight. So as the days get longer, they'll just come out, and we're going to see more and more of them as the days go on.
Definitely something to keep an eye out for. Now, one thing I will say is that we've got certain towns taking extra precautions, extra measures to try to keep a lookout for sharks using drone technology, of course, using jet skis, other types of patrols. How does that make you feel? An extra level of reassurance, knowing you got those extra eyes out looking out for you?
Yeah, I mean, that's really helpful, like knowing that they have those measures in place, but I'm wondering about the rogue sharks that are kind of like swimming around, not tagged, not ready, you know? How do you track those guys? Because those are the ones that I feel like cause the real issues.
Great thing that we have researchers right now in the state working on that, researching shark patterns, things like that, how they migrate in and out of the waters. I also want to ask you all, did you hear about this crazy story? A lot of people in the Northeast region did. A Connecticut woman reportedly had her foot bitten off while snorkeling in the Turks and Caicos this week. The foot, unfortunately, couldn't be reattached. Did you hear about that story?
I actually didn't, but that's awful. I mean, if things like that are happening, clearly we need some more measures in place to avoid that.
Yeah. Did you hear about it, Taylor?
You know, I did just hear about that recently, and it's unfortunate news. It's unfortunate news. I mean, thankfully it's a long way from here, so fingers crossed we're going to be okay, but it's sad.
Absolutely. Well, both of you, thank you so much for chatting with me. Wishing you a very happy and safe Memorial Day weekend. Thank you both so much. So there you have it, Arthel. People are out here enjoying the sand, enjoying the sun, enjoying the surf. But obviously, the most important thing is to be mindful. And a good rule of thumb here is that while there is a lifeguard shortage nationwide, and New York is obviously contending with that too, in most cases, if there is a lifeguard on duty, the beaches and pools are open. If there's not one available, then they'll be closed. So just kind of follow that protocol.
Yeah, and hey, the sharks, it's their water, so, you know, you got to swim with them and be careful. So that guy Jake, by the way, CB, he's a future CFO. I guarantee you that.
I completely agree. Yeah, that might be in the cards for him.
Right? All right, CB Cotton live there from Rockaway Beach, New York. Thank you. And I want to let everybody know that coming up, we're going to talk to an expert a little bit later in the show with tips on how to protect yourself if you do encounter a shark. Bill?
Arthel, in the meantime, heavy rain, gusty winds, and rough surf could put a damper on travel and vacation plans for some in the southeast over the holiday weekend. For more on this, let's bring in Fox Weather meteorologist Adam Klotz. He is in the Weather Center with more on your Memorial Weekend forecast. So, Adam, where specifically in the country are they getting the short end of the weather stick, if you will?
Yeah, they definitely are, Bill. It's across the southeast, and a lot of these beaches are going to be almost a washout, as we're going to see very little movement with this big low pressure system that's currently sitting just off the coast, and you're seeing that rain kind of battering the coast. Parts of the Georgia coast, but really all of South Carolina, running up into North Carolina, currently getting some of these showers. And this is a really slow moving system. So you think, where's it going to head next? Well, if you're kind of in this area, unfortunately, it's not going to head anywhere next. This is our future forecast, and there's that low. You can see the timestamp up in the corner. It just kind of sits here and mingles and slowly works its way on shore. So bringing a whole lot of moisture with it. That's all the way Sunday, taking you eventually into Monday. The coast's mostly kind of overcast there. Maybe by the time you get into Monday, you start to clear off as all that rain pushes a little further inland. At times, it will be somewhat heavy rainfall. You're looking at widespread, maybe an inch or 2 inches. You get up into some of those higher elevations, and you could see 2 to 3 inches of rain coming down again throughout the entire weekend. So kind of a raw couple of days. That is suppressing the temperatures. Some of these areas are likely going to see record low highs, which means typically be a whole lot warmer than this. Instead, we're looking at highs tomorrow getting up only to 60 degrees, 59 degrees, really cool, overcast kind of conditions with all of that rain, all of that cloud cover. That's going to really continue here, unfortunately, for this area for the next couple of days, Bill. So there's a lot of spots out there where it's beautiful, but unfortunately for folks in the southeast, they're going to be dealing with this.
Yeah, not too great out here in LA. Haven't seen the sun out here in a week now. Been cold, overcast, and dreary every single day. We're certainly not jealous at all of where CB Cotton is on that beautiful beach.
No, we
in New
are
York.
not.
We'll talk to you soon, Adam. Thank you. Arthel?
All right, guys. Well, whether it's by road or by air, those getting away for the Memorial Day weekend will have plenty of company. AAA projects more than 42 million people will travel at least 50 miles from home this year. The busy holiday weekend is also expected to put the airline industry to the test, as 3.4 million are expected to fly. So, how's it looking so far? Let's ask Charles Watson. He's live at one of the country's busiest airports, Hartsfield-Jackson, there in Atlanta. So, how does it look, Charles?
Yeah, hey, good afternoon, Arthel. It has been consistently busy here in Atlanta from the morning through the afternoon. But look, the airlines say they are ready for the Memorial Day weekend travel rushes. Big crowds are expected to pack airports across the country. And when I mean big, I mean big. More than 3.4 million people, as you just mentioned, will fly this holiday weekend, according to AAA. That's a double-digit increase, 11% over last year. And those numbers are also expected to eclipse pre-pandemic numbers. Holiday air travel is up more than 5% compared to the same time in 2019. The TSA says demand has been up really for days, with Friday projected to be the busiest of all travel days. Folks we spoke to say they expected and prepared for big crowds, but some say it's still a little bit overwhelming.
There's just a lot of people. When you fly out of Augusta, such a small airport, to come to a big airport and have all these people and all the lines in TSA, it's a lot.
Now that we're in this post-pandemic era, people want to get back out there, and they're wanting to not only travel across the U.S., but international travel is also up significantly. AAA is reporting more than a 200% increase in international travel compared to 2022.
Yeah, and this will be a big test to the system, says Transportation Secretary Pete Buttigieg, who says the Department of Transportation has been working with airlines to avoid major travel disruptions like we saw last summer and during the winter holiday. And industry officials say they are addressing staffing shortages and have already hired 30,000 additional workers this year. They're also reducing flights to ease congestion, but using bigger planes to increase capacity. And I thought really quickly, not a bad idea to be stuck in one of these TSA checkpoint lines. A few moments ago, they had a violinist there playing some music for the folks in line. We heard some Tina Turner, God rest her, some Beyonce. And when I walked away for a moment, my photographer tells me that singer Erykah Badu came through the line. His name is Tyrone, by the way, so for anyone who gets that relation, they'll know what I'm talking about, Arthel.
I get it, and I guess I'll see you next lifetime, Charles Watson. You got that right.
Exactly.
Bye, Charles. Thank you.
Well, Arthel, a bit of breathing room on the debt ceiling as the Treasury Department announces that June 5th is now the new default deadline. This comes as House Speaker Kevin McCarthy says there's no deal with the White House just yet, but negotiators are, quote, closer to an agreement. For more on this, senior congressional correspondent Chad Program, he's got all the details on this from Capitol Hill. He's been chasing the Speaker of the House around on this Saturday. So, Chad, what updates do you have for us?
Bill, good afternoon. Breathing room could cut two ways. It gives the sides more time to forge a deal, but it could slow progress. There were rumblings yesterday of a deal, rumblings today of a deal, but 24 hours after Treasury extended the deadline, there is no deal.
We do not have a deal. We are not there yet. We did make progress. We worked well into early this morning, and we're back at it now. Some things we just have to finish out. We've got to make sure we get a right agreement for the American people.
McCarthy insists he will give members 72 hours once the bill is posted before there's a vote, but the sides are getting antsy. Michigan Democrat Debbie Dingell planned to officiate a wedding overseas this weekend.
I'm not confident about anything. We talked to people who said the deal would be finalized last night. Now it's Saturday. There's some very serious sticking points. I think I am the angriest that we're here, that we're even struggling and worried that we may not be able to pay our bills. It's an unacceptable situation to be in. And quite frankly, none of us can be rubber stamped. So we're in a very, very, very challenging situation.
If they had a deal, they'd pull the trigger. The GOP demands work mandates for people to receive some federal benefits. Democrats oppose that, and members of the Freedom Caucus worry that any accord may lack robust spending cuts.
I agreed to $1.5 trillion with the things that we had in the bill that we passed. If they want another more than double that, then I want to see the savings on the other side. It's not about trying to spend more money. It's about trying to curb this runaway inflation and get our fiscal house in order. And spending more without something commensurate to save on the other side of the ledger, I think it's going to be problematic.
A senior House GOP source says there is, in fact, progress. They are hopeful for a deal sometime this evening, and the Speaker could do a GOP conference call when they have bill text. Back to you.
Well, let's hope they hammer something out soon, because obviously a lot on the line with this. Chad Program from Capitol Hill, thank you.
Thank you.
Arthel?
Yeah, well, Bill, the debt crisis is one reason New York Congresswoman Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez did not receive a warm welcome at a town hall with constituents yesterday. Some participants expressed anger with the lawmaker over her positions on the debt threat, as well as issues including immigration and funding for Ukraine. Alexandria Hoff has more now from Washington.
This was a town hall that spiraled into a shouting match with attendees yelling both at the Congresswoman and at each other. It happened last night in Queens, New York, where several crowd members were taking issue with Rep. Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez's stances on immigration and funding for Ukraine.
Because we should eliminate the debt limit in the United States because of the constitutional.
The pandemonium within the crowd continued through what was supposed to be a question and answer session. Some attendees did come to the Congresswoman's defense, but that did not quiet things.
We all came through Ellis-Island. Things are different. Things change over time. Shut up. Shut up.
And while signs poking fun at AOC were still present, the Congresswoman wrapped up the event taking photos with supporters and released this tweet after, thanking everyone who came out to the town hall and stating, quote, "We had such a great crowd, smiley face. It was awesome answering all your questions, discussing the debt limit negotiations and more." Those who lashed out in opposition during the event were led away by security. Arthel.
Alexandria Hoff, thank you. Bill?
Arthel, Suffolk County in New York is the latest suburb to issue an emergency order that would block New York City from sending migrants there. The Big Apple's mayor, Eric Adams, says his city is completely overwhelmed.
If we continue with what we're seeing, thousands of people a week, it's not sustainable. It's just opening new places, expanding throughout the state. We need to get the help from the national government, as I've been stating for some time now.
For more on this, let's bring in Kevin McCaffrey, Suffolk County Legislature's presiding officer. Kevin, thank you so much for your time today.
Thanks for having me, Bill.
So if I understand correctly, you guys have you've hired an attorney now sort of in an effort to block this influx of potential buses of migrants from showing up in your county. What's the latest on how things are going with that?
Well, yesterday the county executive issued an executive order that prevented any hotels or motels or anywhere bringing in any of the migrants from anywhere. And so it was a good first step. And I'm glad he's following the lead of the Republican caucus that last week announced that we're going to be hiring outside counsel to look at what options we had in the event that migrants were bused to Suffolk County.
Has there been any sort of notification or coordination with New York City? I mean, how did you guys find out that Suffolk County was potentially a target for these migrant buses?
Well, we had heard that different hotels and motels were being contacted by New York City asking if they had any room for them to bring migrants in. And that set up a series of calls to the governor's office and to say, look, there's going to be a problem if you, without our permission, bring migrants into Suffolk County.
So if I'm hearing you correctly, the city started contacting hotels in your jurisdiction without telling county leadership, essentially trying to find out which hotels could potentially house these migrants under the radar.
That's correct. That's my understanding. They've called every hotel and motel in New York State. So it's not surprising that they reached out to the hotel motel owners in Suffolk County. This is a big problem. We don't want what became New York City's problem become Suffolk County's problem. We are a country of immigrants, but we're also a country of law. And what's happened on that southern border is bleed over to New York City. We don't want that to bleed over to Suffolk County.
And let's talk about some of the costs associated with all this. If we can pull up this graphic right here. I mean, take a look at this. New York City says it expects to spend about $4.3 billion with the B dollars on migrants. And then you take a look at Suffolk County's entire 2023 budget, $3.74 billion. You're talking New York City spending $1 billion more almost dealing with migrants for what you guys are spending in the entire county. So what are your biggest concerns when it comes to if migrants do start showing up in Suffolk County, the financial ties that come with it?
Yeah, and that's the biggest problem. I mean, New York City is saying we're going to pay for their housing, their foods, et cetera. But what about the strain it's going to cause on our emergency services, on our police, our emergency medical services? What about when they want to go to school? It's going to take at least 2 years at the earliest to get a hearing. You're bringing in families here. They're going to have to go to school in the meantime. What about the impact on the local school district? All this stuff is going to bleed through. We see what's happening in New York City. We don't want that happening here in Suffolk County. We can't afford to have that burden on the residents of Suffolk County. We didn't create this problem. We don't want it to become our problem. We understand that the issue of migration, it needs to be legal migration. People are saying they're legal asylum seekers. We don't believe that these people are properly vetted in many cases, and we feel that this is a problem that's caused by the federal government. It needs to be fixed by the federal government by stopping everybody from coming over the border, for starters.
And I assume you're talking to a lot of your local residents. What are the biggest concerns they're expressing to you about this?
Well, those are the concerns. What's going to be not just the public, the fiscal impact, but what it's going to do about public safety. The biggest thing that Suffolk County does, when someone asks me whether it be I'm speaking to third graders or senior citizens, the biggest thing that we provide to you, the best service, is public safety. And we can't ensure their public safety if we don't know who's coming across the border and being housed in their communities. And that's the biggest issue. And it's our obligation to make sure we do everything we can to make sure that our residents are safe. So that's why we took the measures to hire outside counsel to see what our responsibilities are or our rights as a legislature to be able to keep that from happening.
And real quick, 10 seconds here. What do you want, Mayor? What's your message to Mayor Eric Adams? 10 seconds.
Take care of your problem. You said you were a sanctuary city. We didn't become a sanctuary county. That's your problem. Keep it there and leave it out of Suffolk County.
Kevin McCaffrey of Suffolk County, thank you so much for your time today. We'll keep in touch.
Very good. Thank you very much.
Arthur?
Well, Bill, brand new Fox poll numbers showing that some Americans are growing frustrated with President Biden as one of his 2024 Democratic challengers now holds on to a sizable chunk of Democrat votes. We'll dig into the numbers. That's up next.
Welcome back. President Biden is in Camp David this weekend as debt ceiling talks hit a standstill in Washington. Speaker McCarthy saying today he is, quote, hopeful they'll reach a deal soon. Meanwhile, Biden is struggling to make progress on his approval rating. Lucas Tomlinson is joining us live at the White House today. Lucas, good to see you, my friend. What's the latest?
Good to see you too, Bill. With some mixed messages here at the White House, President Biden very optimistic, saying he's very close to a deal with Kevin McCarthy. However, a White House spokesman did not seem so optimistic. First, here's Biden.
With regard to the debt limit, things are looking good, very optimistic. I hope we'll have some clear evidence tonight before the clock strikes 12 that we have a deal. But it's very close, and I'm optimistic.
And here's White House Deputy Press Secretary Andrew Bates in a statement just 30 minutes later. House Republicans are threatening to trigger an unprecedented recession and cost the American people over 8 million jobs unless they can take food out of the mouths of hungry Americans. Now, a new Fox News poll shows more people would blame the president if a deal is not reached, as you can see here, 47 to 44%. Now, some are wondering if all this debt ceiling talk is just hyperbole, Bill. It's notable back in 2011, former Federal Reserve Chairman Alan Greenspan said the United States government can never default on its debt. In a letter to House Speaker Kevin McCarthy, the Treasury Secretary says the deadline has been extended now beyond June 1st. Quote, based on the most recent data available, we now estimate that Treasury will have insufficient resources to satisfy the government's obligations if Congress has not raised or suspended the debt limit by June 1st. So a little more room to breathe there. The original deadline was June 1st, and Kevin McCarthy said earlier at the Capitol that he is very optimistic there'll be a deal reached by June 5th. Although, as we heard from our colleague Chad Pergram, there might be a deal tonight. Bill?
Yeah, we certainly hope so. Lucas Tomlinson live at the White House for us today. Thank you. Happy Saturday. Art, though?
Yeah, well, Lucas and Bill, polls are also suggesting that voters aren't that enthusiastic about a rematch between President Biden and the former President Trump in 2024. And one primary challenger to President Biden, Robert F. Kennedy Jr., gaining some points in a new Fox News poll. He is now at 16% compared to Mr. Biden's 62%. Judy Miller is here. She's a Fox News contributor and adjunct fellow at the Manhattan Institute for Policy Research. She's joining me now. So, Judy, is RFK Jr. a viable prospect for the presidency, and how could he weaken President Biden's bid for re-election?
Well, Arthur, I think that whether or not you think he can win, Robert Kennedy Jr. is certainly a thorn in the side of President Biden. A president whose popularity ratings are so low, even among Democrats, does to this amazing, quote, legacy. So he's got that. He's also appealing to young people because of his environmental background. And in addition to that, he's taking a very interesting and some would say very destructive position on vaccines. He's a vaccine skeptic. He says that he has actually compared the vaccine mandates to the Holocaust. And in fact, his wife, an actress, Cheryl Hines, has called that statement irresponsible, reprehensible, and said that he had to apologize, which he did. But he's still polling very, very well. And Biden doesn't need this right now. This is the last thing he needs.
Yeah. So do you think all of the items that you just listed as his platform, do you think that would be enough to attract, Democrats or independent voters that he could peel away from President Biden, from the Biden-Harris ticket, part two, if you will?
I don't think he can win if nothing else happens to Joe Biden, but he can certainly take up Biden's time, energy, and force him to spend a lot more money. A primary is very, very difficult, especially a contentious one, for a president who's seeking a second term. Look at history. Jimmy Carter in 1988, who didn't win a second term. George Herbert Walker Bush in 1988, who didn't win a second term after really tough primaries. So this is the last thing the Democrats want or need. But if Marianne Williamson, who's currently polling at 8%, pulls out of the race because she doesn't have the money or name recognition that Kennedy has, he could get up to 24, 25, maybe even 30% of Democratic voters, according to polls. And that's certainly very troubling news, and it should be for Joe Biden.
So you think he's got some gas in his tank that he can be around for a little while? Yes or no, or something short?
He can be a big problem for President Biden. And remember, even though he says, I'm younger, I'm more vital, Marianne Williamson is 70. And Kennedy is 69, Biden's 80. But this is hardly the spring chicken contest in the Democratic Party. I mean, the Republicans just have a lot younger would-be candidates than the Democrats right now.
Got to leave it there. Judy Miller, thank you very much for joining us. Take care.
Thank you.
We'll be right. You're welcome. We'll be right back. Well, many cities across the country are hosting air shows this holiday weekend. One of them is the Hyundai Air and Sea Show in Miami Beach. The event wows the crowds with jet demonstrations and parachute teams while also honoring our nation's heroes. Fox Weather's Brandy Campbell shows us all that's needed to make sure the event goes off without a hitch.
All right, so the Hyundai Air and Sea Show is going on behind me. You can see one of the Golden Knights landing on a target. This weekend, they will be showcasing different talents across all branches of the United States military. And as you can see, a lot of people are lining the coast of Miami Beach to see these different branches show off the technology and innovations that they have. Many people telling me they're very excited to see some certain acts. What are you most excited for with this air show?
Everything. My favorite are the super jets for sure. Seeing what they can do and the ability that the military can produce with airplanes these days is incredible.
But I'm waiting for the ones that fly very low.
Seeing all the airplanes go by.
I can't wait to see the airplanes too. Yeah. All right, what are you excited for?
Just seeing them enjoy everything here, what our great country has to offer. Honestly, like all the men and women that have served for us, and this is the reason why we're here, because of them.
Overall, this will showcase the Army's best technologies, career opportunities, and of course, honor our nation's heroes.
What a great opportunity here for us to connect the military with the community. And it certainly helps in recruiting all those folks that frankly will follow in the footsteps of the real meaning of this weekend, where you have folks that have obviously given the ultimate sacrifice for all of us to be able to do what we're doing today.
All right, now this event will go on throughout the weekend, and so far, weather is on our side. Reporting here from Miami Beach, Florida, I'm Brandy Campbell. Back to you, Arthel.
Okay, Brandy Campbell, thank you very much. Bill?
Oh, Tiger shark! Tiger shark ran me. Holy
Yeah, that's intense right there. A close call for a man kayaking off the coast of Hawaii's Oahu Island when a tiger shark suddenly attacks his boat. The man was able to protect himself with a kick, but recent shark bites in Hawaii and Florida and a suspected case in New Jersey have some scared to go into the water. But experts say swimming at the beach is safe, and they want to remind people encounters with sharks are extremely rare. For more on this, let's bring in Toby Daly-Angle, director of the Florida Tech Shark Conservation Lab. She is also a Florida Tech assistant professor. Toby, thank you so much for joining us today.
Oh, thanks for having me.
So I'm glad I get to do this segment with you because, look, I'm a beach guy, grew up around the ocean. When I was a little kid, though, I was terrified of sharks. And then I started learning about the numbers and the odds. You got a lot better odds of dying doing a whole lot of other things. And I think you got, what is it? What are the numbers these days? 1 in several million chance of a shark attack?
Yeah, there are very, very few shark attacks per year in the entire world, and very few here in the U.S. And in no way should that ever let you not get into the water. Everybody should definitely use the ocean, even though there are sharks in there. And when we're in the ocean, we're really in their territory.
And let's go over some of the numbers. If we can pull up this graphic right here, just taking a look at 2022 around the United States, there were only 41 unprovoked shark attacks. And just to put that in perspective for folks, there are more than, I think, 320 million people in the United States. Florida obviously led, where there's a lot of bull sharks. California had 4, but these numbers are minuscule. So Toby, just kind of put those numbers into perspective for us, for anybody who's afraid to get into the ocean this holiday weekend.
Well, just to put that in perspective, your chances of dying on the way to the beach are much higher than they are dying from a shark attack. And as rare as shark attack is, and those numbers that you quoted are really, really astronomically small, we're not even talking about fatalities. Most shark attacks are actually provoked by people, and the ones that aren't are usually very minor. Very, very rarely do we have a fatality due to a shark. And in fact, in many years, there aren't any fatalities at all.
And in your opinion, does it kind of seem like there's a rise in shark sightings or attacks? Because look, everybody these days has a cell phone or an iPhone, right? Everybody's got a camera in their hand. Do you think that kind of contributes to the idea that there are more sharks out there looking to get you?
Absolutely. In fact, none of the sharks out there are actually looking to get you. We are not their prey. Sharks are actually really long-lived, kind of careful creatures. Think more like a wolf that will stalk its prey and back off if anything signals that that prey might actually be dangerous. Like you saw in that video, that kind of strike attack is actually really rare, and it only occurs after a shark is reasonably sure that what it's attacking is actually prey. Obviously, that's not us, and so when a shark bites something like a kayak, we assume that that's just a case of mistaken identity. It's going for something that it thinks is maybe a sea turtle.
And what are some of the things people can do to just kind of up their safety a little bit? I remember when I was a kid and scared of the sharks, I'd get on Google and it would say, don't go in murky water, don't swim at dusk or dawn, don't wear shiny things, obviously don't go in when you're bleeding or go near people who are fishing. What are some of the other things, easy things people can do to minimize any chance of an interaction with a shark?
Well, those are all good pointers. And in general, it's best to just move slowly when you're in the water. If you're in an area where you think a shark may be, move slowly, don't splash around, don't act like wounded prey. And remember, shark attack depends on people. The more people in the water, the more encounters will occur. And actually, we know that shark numbers are in fact down. And as you mentioned, smartphones are everywhere. And so while it might feel like there are more shark attacks, there really aren't more shark attacks. They're not going up. In fact, overall, sharks in general are in trouble.
And last question here, 20 seconds for a response. Just talk about how important sharks are to the oceanic ecosystem.
Well, where I am here in Florida, going into the water is really a part of our culture, including fishing. And anyone who's ever fished knows that sharks are an important part of the ecosystem because they prey on other fish, the weak and the diseased, and keep them from passing on those diseases. And really, they are essential top predators for the health of the world's oceans.
Some great insight right there. Toby Daly Angle, thank you so much for your time today. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Arthel, what do you think about sharks? They freak you out at all or no?
Well, you know, I'm fine with looking at them as long as I'm good at waist deep in the ocean, so they're way out there. Just don't come around here, and we're good. What about you?
Yeah.
Have you had an encounter? Because you keep talking. I think you do. Do you surf? And when you were a kid, did you ever
I used
see
to body
one
surf
really
when I was
close
a
up?
kid. But you know what helped me out was back in 2019. I went to Cabo for spring break, and I went on a shark diving trip, I guess you will, where they take you out to the open ocean, they give you a mask and snorkel, and they put you in the water, they chum the water, and a bunch of mako sharks swim around you. No cage, no nothing, they're just swimming around you, and they were docile, they were calm, and that helped me kind of relax. And no, I'm not afraid of them anymore. Just don't be dumb. Don't go in at dawn or dusk or when you're bleeding or anything like that, and stay away from the fishermen.
Just don't be dumb. That applies to a whole bunch of stuff, Bill.
Yes.
I like that. I'm going to make a bumper sticker.
Yeah.
Don't be dumb. I love it.
Exactly, yes.
Good advice. All right, we'll be right back.
Change is imperceptible. Life surge. in peace.
ป้อมเลนกลางของเราถูกโจมตี
I am one with this world.
Nice assisting.
Shut down.
Nice assist.
Enemy bloodbath. Shut down. Your team has destroyed a tower.
Sprightly. I was never here. Guardian Dragon.
An enemy has been defeated.
Give him
Your team has destroyed a tower.
Teach a man to fish and feed him for a lifetime. Masticate. Love is felt, not seen.
รวบตัว
Your team has destroyed a tower.
Like rivers carving canyons, change is imperceptible.
An ally has been defeated. An ally has been defeated. An enemy has been defeated. Enemy double kill. An ally has been defeated. You have defeated an enemy. Enemy triple kill. Aced. Your tower has been destroyed. Your tower has been destroyed.
มันมาอยู่ตรงนี้ฝากดูแลป้อมด้วย
Shinizu Pavalhor.
Dark Slayer has been defeated.
I am one with this world.